Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. Well, we were successful. We managed to get all of the chickens here and all of the goats except for Wilbur. Wilbur will be waiting till tomorrow to come here because we needed to bring everybody else here so that way we could take down the fencing that will in turn be used for Wilbur's pen. So we had to get everybody else here so that way Wilbur didn't try to knock up Fawny again, because we definitely do not want her to be bred quite yet, seeing as how she just gave birth like on February 10th, kind of a little soon. So we did not get the rabbits here yet because the weather is getting really terrible. Shortly after we actually got everybody here, it started hailing and raining really bad and thunderstorming. So we decided to stop moving people today. Well, they're not people, but you know what I mean. So we decided to stop moving anybody today due to the weather. So we got the chickens in with the goats because they just fly right over that fence. And there's Ferdinand. He's kind of lost without Wilbur being here because he's not really been too much in with everybody else. And Lucky's here, and Winston, and Fawny. We got them all. So that was super duper exciting. Last night was a very, very late night for me and Tracy. We actually were here working on the house until about 11:30, which may not seem like a big deal to some people, but her work schedule, we like to jokingly call it extreme day shift, because we have to get up at 4:30 in the morning for her to go to work. So we were up working nonstop until like 11:30 at night. So it made for a very long day. So in the exhaustedness, when she brought the stanchion here, where the stanchion was at her parents' house, it was not inside of a barn or anything like that, so we had to have a roof on it. Well, Willie, or our nephew, who Briar was helping us. Hi Briar, thank you for your help today. We love you very much. Anyways, so when they brought the stanchion here, none of them thought to try to strap it down. So the stanchion ended up flying out of the bed of the truck and flying off of the road into somebody's yard, and it got kind of smashed. Comically, the part that got messed up was actually the roof. So I had made it so that way it was like this originally, and then I had realized that I should really put some sort of roofing on it, so then that way, you know, I wasn't getting soaked and Funny wasn't getting soaked when it was time to milk her. So I had every intention of, once we moved here, to take the roof off. So it kind of happened at warp speed. So that was one snafu. And then one of our chickens hurt their toe when we were moving them. So it was kind of sketchy, because it was, if you follow us on Facebook, it was Hera, Tracy's favorite bird that likes to stand on our heads and, you know, is very much a pet. She hurt her toe. So we were kind of freaking out because there was quite a lot of blood with that toenail injury. But she's fully recovered now. But so then the other snafu that happened, my car, right here, I've affectionately named her Blanche, because she's an old girl. If you watch the Golden Girls, you know who Blanche Devereaux is. Anyways, so Tracy was moving her in the driveway, while so that way my dad could leave, because my dad's pickup truck has a cap on it. So we used his truck to move the goats, so that way it was much safer. Anyways, so she was moving my car so that way he could get out, and the brake line blew right in the driveway. So that's kind of how our lives go. I don't know if you guys have watched our previous videos, but if you did, you would know that the other day I was working on our truck because the idler pulley was messed up. It was squealing like crazy, and so I went to try to take the bolt out for the idler pulley, and the bolt snapped in the engine. So that put us down to 2 vehicles, and now we are down to 1. So yeah, it's kind of a wild ride. So tomorrow Tracy's not going to be much help with moving stuff and helping out, because she's going to have to work on fixing my brake line. Thankfully my parents are coming out again tomorrow to help us move some more, because we will definitely need my dad's truck to help move Wilbur and to help move the rabbits. So my mom is disabled, so they have a big handicap van with a lift. So we're gonna utilize that lift in her van and her driving to. She drives with the fancy pants hand controls. I can't figure them things out. It's kind of just feels really backwards for me. But anyways, so we're gonna use her lift to help lift our freezers in, so that way none of us have to break our backs. So I want to show you guys the progress of the kitchen from last night. There's some stuff on the counter just because running in and out. So I got the sink in, the new sink and the new countertop in. The lighting's kind of wonky in here. I just turned the light on, but it's really messing up the camera. So we got this sink at Habitat for Humanity. It did not come with the faucet, so that was a Menards special. Tracy found it buried somewhere, and it was only like $80, and it was like the exact type of faucet that we had actually wanted. Normally they're close to like $200, so it was a seriously big steal. So we got the sink out of the box last night, and I got the template cut for it and everything, and we were so excited to get it put in, and then we realized it did not come with the drains. So that was a bummer. So that's where Tracy's at right now. She's actually going to go get the drains because, yeah, there's just big old holes. So that's kind of a bummer. So then we moved the new bathroom sink out of, it was just sitting right in front of these cupboards here. We put that in the bathroom, and we were lifting it up, and that thing was heavy because it's like all marble. So it's really nice. I'll show you guys that in a second. It was insane for us to try to move that by ourselves. There's some things that it is nice to have a guy around for, and it is definitely the testosterone that helps muscles get bigger. Anyways, so we got that moved, and then we realized the drain was broke on that too. So Tracy's also getting that. So last night I cut over in here to put the fridge in. In the previous tour video, the fridge was supposed to go back here, but it's too short. Our fridge is too big to fit in there. So we're gonna move the stove to being over here, and we moved the fridge to being where a stove goes. Our fridge is a very large fridge because we like to make our own wines and different things like that. And with having chickens and homesteading, you always need more fridge space. Like, it just seems like as soon as you get a bigger fridge, then it gets filled up faster. So we always have a lot of things going on in our fridge. But so I cut the cupboards out from up there. That took forever. I used the multi-tool that I have, and then I used a Sawzall, and then I used a sledgehammer. It was just like everything I was doing was just not working. So it took forever to get that cut out. It's just a very crude cut line, but that's okay because the fridge is hiding it. So when we go to finish remodeling the kitchen, I'll have to, do some work back there because nobody else will notice, but it'll bug me. I'm very much a perfectionist with a lot of different things, especially the things that I renovate myself. It just really bothers me if it's not perfect. So there's a cupboard here, or a cabinet here, countertop, that I spent hours on yesterday trying to beat it out of place. And when I removed the sink countertop, I discovered that it was not screwed in like most countertops are. It was actually glued on and nailed into place. So it was extremely difficult to beat it out. I had to use a Sawzall and cut the entire way around the countertop where it mounted on, and then I still had to beat the ever-living tar out of it. So it was really, really difficult. So this countertop, everywhere that there is one of these little support beams, it goes up to the countertop. It's still there, just so you know. So we're just going to roll with it. But so every single one of these in between the drawers, there is a support beam that runs the depth of the countertop that has a massive amount of glue on it and a massive amount of nails in it. I told Tracy jokingly last night, I said, man, I hope whoever built this countertop, or the countertop and the cabinets, I said, I hope they built this house. I said, because it will survive anything. I weigh about 150 pounds, and I was bouncing up and down on top of the crowbar and still could not get it. And that was after running my Sawzall the whole entire way around the countertop. there was still just so many nails and so much glue that I could not do anything. I beat it and beat it and beat it with a sledgehammer. I did every single thing that I could think of and still could not get it to budge. So eventually I just gave up. I was like, well, whoever built this built things like I do, and they overbuilt it. Like every time that I try to build something, I'm always like, oh, I need to make this lighter because my last furniture piece was really heavy. Well, I still end up overbuilding everything. Apparently I'm thinking that I'm going to invite gorillas over to a big raging party and they're going to, dance on the tables or something that I build. I have no idea what my issue is, but I always overbuild everything. So it basically becomes like a bomb shelter or a tornado shelter every piece that I build. So if you guys like, ridiculously heavy, sturdy furniture, I'm totally your girl because I will accidentally overbuild the crap out of it. But anyways, back to the countertops. So could not get the old piece off, so we are just rolling with it. It's not, this countertop over here is mainly going to have like our microwave, toaster, that sort of a thing. So it's really not a big deal if it's about 1.5 inches taller. Tracy's just going to have to grow a little bit. She's slightly shorter than I am, so it'll annoy her more than it will me. But the countertop, the cabinet is not attached to the wall anymore because while I was beating on it, I kind of made it so it's not attached anymore. So I'll have to fix that. But so once we get the new one mounted and cut to the customized thing that it needs to become, I can always pull the cabinet out and then shave off some if it really bothers Tracy, if it's because of it being a little bit taller. So that's really not a big deal. It's easier to do that than to try to beat the cabinet off because well, that sounded wrong. Anyways, I can't get it off, so that's how we're just going to roll with it. So I have to make a lot of weird wonky cuts. The chimney comes up right over there. So the countertop that I bought was a 6-foot long countertop. So it is too long for this space. I think this space was like 5'9" or something like that. Maybe 5'7". So there's like 5 or 6 inches I gotta cut off of it. But I have to cut this weird wonky corner piece out because the cupboard extends back this way, and it's really a bizarre layout. No modern cupboards are made this way. So what I'm going to do is the piece that I cut out for the sink, I'm going to piece that in right over there and just use some caulk and try to make it so that way it doesn't look horrible. Thankfully our massive fridge is going to be hiding a lot of imperfections, so it won't drive me so crazy. But so then I also got to cut from here over off. For those of you that have never cut countertop, the best thing to use is a multi-tool, which is this little thing right here. How it cuts is it actually just like vibrates side to side and just sort of like shimmies and shakes. It takes forever to do it, but it doesn't chip the countertop. So you also just, slap some masking tape on it and then use a marker to mark your line as to where you want to go. And then it takes forever to cut through it with that tool, but it makes it so that way it doesn't chip the countertops. When we lived in town, we had redone the kitchen, and I was absolutely terrified to cut for the sinkhole. So for a couple of days, we did not have a sink because I was like so nervous that I was going to really jack something up. But yeah, I'll take some of this plumbing stuff off of the sink so that way you guys can see what it looks like in here. All right, so there is the new sink countertop. Thank you, previous owners, for buying something that actually matches our tastes. Like that was really, really stupendous. So then the other snafu that happened today was I went pee in our newly plumbed toilet. Thank you, Tracy. And when I flushed it, I then had to go downstairs to get the wire strippers for Tracy to hook up the electric fence for the goats to keep them in, because Lucky's already escaped once since being here, and it's only been a couple hours. So I went down right after I flushed, and underneath the bathroom in the basement is where I have all like the electrical stuff stored, because there's a little fancy shelf in there. It's not really fancy. It's just a wooden shelf, but I like to call things fancy when they're not fancy because it makes them seem special. So I went to get the wire cutters, and I was like, where is that water coming from, and I looked up and realized that the flange on the toilet, which is the gasket that seals the base of the toilet, that was leaking tremendously. And I was like, oh, lovely. So while Tracy's at the store to get the drains for the kitchen sink and the bathroom sink, I told her to get a flange for the toilet. So that's fun. And then while my dad was hooking up the plug for the dryer, he discovered that when they were running new lines, for some god-awful reason, they decided to cut out and remove one of the floor joists that are underneath the bathtub. So no soaking in the tub until we get that fixed, which isn't that big of a deal. I know my way around some power tools and some woodworking stuff, and we've already, our house in town, actually, about a year before we decided that we had to move, it had floor jacks in it, and we were dancing in the kitchen, me, Tracy, and Willie, right before dinner, to a song called Get Down on It by Casey and the Sunshine Band. But anyways, so we were, bouncing up and down, dancing and all this stuff, and the next thing we heard was boom, and the floor dropped. So what had happened was the jack had been rusted at the bottom, like 2 inches of it, and we did not realize it was that badly rusted. It collapsed and pretty much scared us to death. Like, it was so loud, it sounded like an actual explosion had happened. Like, all of our ears were ringing for a couple of days afterwards, and we all felt ill because it was such a shock to our systems. So we had to replace the jack in there. So when we looked at this place, we knew that it needed a support jack, because when you're coming in from the living room into the dining room, I don't imagine that it'll show up on camera, but you can tell that the floor sags right over in here. So underneath, there's actually a joist, like a support beam that runs across. And so it was one of the first purchases that we made for this house, was we bought one of those jacks, those support jacks, so that way we can slowly work on jacking the house back up to make the floor more level. Nothing is moving, nothing is like shifted badly or anything. There's no major cracks in the drywall or plaster upstairs or on the main level. It's just, it's cosmetic, and this will help also prevent the structure from shifting or falling, or any other millions of things that could happen. Because even though we do live in Ohio, there are occasionally earthquakes, so you definitely want to just make sure everything is really good and sturdy and squared away. So I'm going to work on the countertop while I'm waiting for Tracy to come back. Since we are down to one vehicle now, she has a bunch of errands to run besides going and getting plumbing. She's also got to go and get the dogs and bring them here and feed the rabbits and the quail and the ducks and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, kind of a bummer, but that's okay. I can do what I do best, and work and work and work and work. So I'm going to put some tunes on, and I'm going to get some hearing protection on, because that multi-tool is very loud, and I'm going to get cutting some cabinets. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're liking our content, don't forget to like the videos that we post and to subscribe to our channel, so that way you can be updated and notified every time we post a new video. Throughout this whole process, I'm trying my best to film as much as possible to document everything, because everything that I do tends to be at warp speed. So, yeah, so I gotta get busy, and the wind just blew the door open, so apparently I did not get it latched all the way. It's a tremendously windy day out. Anyways, all right, I gotta get back to work. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for joining me.